Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. Now, starting with West Asia, the Israeli cabinet will vote on a 60-day ceasefire deal in Lebanon later today. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will convene the high-level meet in Tel Aviv. This comes amid ongoing tensions between the Israeli forces and the Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. Reports say Netanyahu has approved a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah in principle. Israeli airstrikes struck Lebanon's southern Beirut, causing widespread destruction. At least 31 people lost their lives across Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces announced that it hit about 25 Hezbollah targets. The attack comes after Hezbollah launched over 350 rockets towards Israel. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said that an arrest warrant against the Israeli's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not enough. He added that the Israeli leader deserved a death sentence instead. This is Khamenei's first remark after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu last week. His statement came during a meeting in Tehran. Foreign ministers of the G7 nations met in Italy yesterday. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also attended the meeting. On top of the agenda was the wars in West Asia, and the Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said that he was optimistic about a possible ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Moving to the war in Europe, Russia said its air defense system shot down 8 ballistic missiles fired by Ukraine. Ukrainian forces also targeted a fuel depot in Russia's Kaluga region. Meanwhile, Russian aerial attacks wounded over 30 people in Ukraine's Odessa, and hostilities between Russia and Ukraine over the last week, with both sides deploying more lethal weapons to gain an upper hand in the war. In the U.S., President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to impose high tariffs on Canada and Mexico when he takes office. Trump said he would impose a 25% tariff on all goods imported from the U.S. neighbors. He cited rising drug trafficking and illegal migration at the U.S. borders with Mexico and Canada. The U.S. President-elect has also proposed an additional 10% tariff on China. And billionaire Elon Musk, a close aide to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, criticized modern fighter jets. He asserted that drones must represent the future of aerial warfare. Musk specifically condemned the production of the F-35 fighter jets. Trump has tapped Musk to head the Department of Government Efficiency. Over a dozen people are missing after a boat capsized in the Red Sea on Monday. The yacht carried 31 tourists of various nationalities along with 14 crew members. Authorities said the tourists were on a multi-day diving trip. The yacht had embarked upon its journey from Egypt's Port Galib and was due to dock at Hurghada city on Friday. In South Asia, India is celebrating 75 years since the adoption of the constitution. President Draupadi Murmu addressed a joint sitting of Parliament to mark the occasion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the country's top lawmakers were present at the event. On this day in 1949, the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution, which came into effect on the 26th of January 1950. And continuing with India, President Draupadi Murmu and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh paid homage to victims of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attack. On this day in 2008, Mumbai witnessed one of its darkest days as terrorists launched coordinated attacks, killing 166 people. The Indian president called the attack cowardly and honored those who braved their lives to defend the city. And fresh protests erupted in several parts of Bangladesh amid rising cases of anti-Hindu violence. At least one person was reported dead while several others were injured. And separately, a Hindu priest was detained by authorities in Dhaka. Members of the Hindu community have urged the Bangladeshi government to release the priest. In Pakistan, Imran Khan supporters defied police and stormed Pakistan's capital Islamabad. Thousands of protesters rallied to demand the release of the former Prime Minister. At least one police officer was killed and 9 others were critically injured. Islamabad has been locked down for the past 2 days, and security has been beefed up in the capital after Khan called for a march to demand his release. And women across Latin America hit the streets on Monday to protest against gender violence. They held rallies on the occasion of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. In places like Mexico City and Bolivia, women demanded government action and justice. Marches were also conducted in Colombia's capital of Bogota and in Chile's Santiago. 4 pilot whales died after a group of 40 were stranded on a beach in New Zealand's North Island. According to the Department of Conservation, locals tried helping the pod to refloat, but 3 adults and a calf couldn't survive. Countries like New Zealand and Australia have become hotspots for mass whale strandings. And on to climate news now. The 5th and final UN Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee meeting began in Busan in South Korea. It aims to finalize an international treaty to tackle plastic pollution. This effort follows a historic resolution at the UN Environment Assembly in 2022, calling for a legally binding instrument to address the full life cycle of plastics. And rescuers in Indonesia have recovered 16 bodies after torrential rains triggered flash floods and landslides across mountainside villages in North Sumatra province. 6 people remain missing as rescue teams continue their search through the mud and debris. The disaster, which struck over the weekend, affected 4 hill districts, destroying homes, farms, and infrastructure. And according to reports, electric grid failures are becoming more frequent and prolonged across the U.S. They are driven by a warming atmosphere that fuels destructive storms. In the Pacific Northwest, a recent bomb cyclone caused nearly 500,000 power outages. For people with disabilities, chronic health conditions, and low incomes, power outages pose serious threats. And the U.S. state of California is preparing for another round of heavy rain and snow. Central and southern areas are expected to face unusual amounts of rain through Tuesday, raising risks of flash flooding and mudslides in mountain regions. The Sierra Nevada mountains could see up to 3 to 4 feet of snow at higher elevations. The storm Bert brought heavy rain and severe flooding to England's Northampton. It turned roads into rivers and submerged several buildings, and train services from London to southwest and central England faced cancellations and delays. The Met Office issued a strong wind warning for northern Scotland, and the storm has killed 4 people so far. In response to recent wildfires, Ecuador's Quito has initiated a major reforestation initiative. It is to restore green spaces and to combat environmental damage. Nearly 600 volunteers gathered to plant around 1,000 native plants. The 2024 fires have destroyed over 4,000 acres of land. And on to business and tech news now. The Chinese currency, the yuan, weakened against the US dollar today. This is after US President-elect Donald Trump announced more potential tariffs for China. Trump said that he would impose an additional 10% tariff on all imports from China. It would likely be on top of the 60% tariff he had promised during election campaigns. The announcement led to the yuan depreciating to its lowest level seen in the last 4 months. It was trading at 7.27 per dollar in the currency exchanges. An American department store chain, Macy's, is delaying the release of its full third quarter earnings. The firm said it is due to an accounting mismatch. Macy's revealed that one of its employees hid up to $154 million in delivery expenses. The employee made incorrect accounting entries from late 2021 to 23, and the firm said that the employee is no longer associated with the company. And American retailer Kohl's has announced that its CEO, Tom Kingsbury, will step down in January next year. Kingsbury is leaving the position after less than 2 years. However, he will remain on Kohl's board. The company has named former Walmart executive Ashley Buchanan for the top role. Volkswagen has reportedly lowered the value of its stake in bankrupt Swedish battery maker Northvolt. The German automaker owns about 21% of Northvolt. The battery maker filed for bankruptcy last week in the US. Northvolt has been struggling due to lower demand in Europe. And the US state of California is planning to introduce new tax credits for buying electric vehicles. The state plans to enact the law if Donald Trump scraps similar benefits provided by the federal government. However, the offices of Governor Gavin Newsom said that Elon Musk's Tesla and some other automakers may not qualify for these benefits. And Elon Musk's brain chip startup Neuralink has received approval for a new feasibility study. This is for using its brain chips and an experimental robotic arm. Neuralink says it is conducting its PRIME study. It added that the study aims to evaluate the safety of its wireless brain chips and new surgical robot. And Finnish handset maker HDM is reportedly planning to move a larger part of its manufacturing operations from China to India. Now, HMD is known for producing Nokia-branded feature phones. The firm is also encouraging its suppliers to set up factories in India. And a US court heard the closing arguments in the case against Google's domination of online ads. The antitrust case was brought by the US Justice Department earlier this year. They told the court that Google rigged the rules of the road. Meanwhile, Google said that the law simply does not support what the Justice Department is arguing. Meanwhile, the antitrust case against the social media giant Meta will go to trial in April next year. The case was brought by the U.S. Federal Trade Commission in 2020. It relates to Meta's takeover of Instagram and WhatsApp. The trade watchdog argues that Meta eliminated the nascent threats instead of competing against them. And chip-making giant NVIDIA has unveiled a new artificial intelligence model. It can modify voices and generate novel sounds. The technology has been named Fugato, short for Foundational Generative Auto Transformer Opus Plus. The date of its public release has not yet been disclosed. And moving on to sports news, and we start with cricket. The auction for the 2025 edition of the Indian Premier League, or the IPL, ended in Jeddah. Here are a few of the highlights of the second day. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar was taken by the Royal Challengers Bangalore for $1.27 million. Mumbai Indians secured England's Will Jacks for over $620,000. Meanwhile, several IPL veterans went unsold. Most notable of them were David Warner, Ajinkya Rahane and Kane Williamson. Meanwhile, 13-year-old batter Vaibhav Suryavanshi has become the youngest player to earn an IPL deal. Rajasthan Royals added Suryavanshi in their squad for over $130,000. The CEO of the IPL franchise described Suryavanshi as an incredible talent. The Bihar-based batter most recently scored a century in an under-19 test against Australia. And Bangladesh are now playing the first of their two-match test series against West Indies. By the end of day 4, Bangladesh needed 225 runs to win, with just 3 wickets remaining. For West Indies, Kamar Roach and Jayden Stales had struck 3 wickets each in the last innings. And Ivory Coast registered the lowest total in international cricket's men's T20 format. This came during a T20 World Cup qualifier match against Nigeria. Batting first, Nigeria scored 271 runs. In response, Ivory Coast were all out for just 7 runs. Nigeria won the match by a massive margin of 264 runs. In football news, West Ham beat Newcastle 2-0 in the Premier League. Tomas Soucek scored the opening goal in the 10th minute, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka found the back of the net shortly after half-time. Now, this was West Ham's second victory away from home, and the Hammers now stand away from the relegation zone. And Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah expressed disappointment at the club's failure to offer him a new contract. The Egyptian footballer said that he is more out than in at Liverpool. Salah said that he has not received any offers to stay at the club. Mohamed Salah's contract with Liverpool is set to expire at the end of the season. In tennis news, world number one Jannik Sinner responded to doping accusations against him. The Italian said that he was heartbroken over the doping row, which erupted in March. Sinner tested positive for traces of a banned substance in March. The World Anti-Doping Agency has demanded a 2-year suspension against Sinner. And men's world number 3, Carlos Alcaraz, will play at Queen's Club in 2025. The grass tournament will begin next year, right before Wimbledon. Confirming his participation, the Spaniard hoped for a successful summer in the UK next year. And in badminton, Syed Modi International Tournament begins in India's Lucknow today. PV Sindhu will play as the top seed in women's singles category, while Lakshya Sen enters the tournament as the top seed in the men's singles. Both of the shuttlers are frontrunners to win the showpiece tournament. And General Motors owned Cadillac could be the 11th team in the F1 races starting 2026. In this regard, F1's governing body confirmed an agreement in principle with the American car giant. F1 chief Mohammed bin Sulayem has expressed support for General Motors' F1 entry into 2026. And in entertainment news, rapper Sean Combs' bail plea has been rejected for the third time. He had requested for a house arrest until his trial date. The rapper will now remain in jail until his trial for racketeering and sexual assault accusations. And rapper Drake has claimed that Universal Music and Spotify artificially inflated rapper Kendrick Lamar's diss track numbers. Drake has now initiated legal action against both the companies. The numbers of the song Not Like Us were inflated by using bots and other methods. It accuses Drake of pedophilia. And according to reports, late singer Liam Payne tried to escape his Argentina hotel after the hotel staff locked him in. He tried to get out through the balcony, but unfortunately fell and died. This is according to a witness, a 911 call, and a surveillance video. Liam Payne passed away on the 16th of October. And singer Taylor Swift was bestowed with a standing ovation after her show in Toronto City. She was left with tears in her eyes after seeing people cheer and praise. Swift said that people don't know how much it means to her. And South Korean singer Rose has signed a global publishing deal with Warner Chappell Music. This will be followed by the release of her solo debut album Rosie on the 6th of December. Executives at the Warner Chappell Music say that she is single-handedly redefining the K-pop genre. And American singer Lana Del Rey will soon be releasing her 10th album. Titled The Right Person Will Stay, the album will be released in May next year. She posted on social media that the album consists of 13 tracks. The makers of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 released its trailer. The video shows Sonic and his friend reunite for a dangerous top-secret mission to save the planet. Their aim is to take down Keanu Reeves, and the film will hit theaters on the 3rd of January. Charlize Theron has joined Christopher Nolan's next film at Universal Studios. She will join a star-studded cast of actors like Matt Damon, Tom Holland, and Anne Hathaway. Details about the film remain tightly under wraps, and production will reportedly start in the first half of next year. And American actor Selma Blair says that she is feeling much better now health-wise. This comes after the actor received treatment for sclerosis. It is a term for abnormal hardening of tissue or body part. She is now back at work. Blair went public with her condition in 2018. And finally, Indian actor and comedian Verdas, who will be hosting this year's International Emmy Awards, says that he is nervous. He stated, and I quote, "It's a weird month to be a foreigner in America hosting a massive award show." Das feels the people who come to the International Emmys are underdogs. He is the first Indian artist to host the award show, and Das won an International Emmy in 2023 for his Netflix special Landing. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.